Hello and welcome back to my channel, or if you are new here, hi, hello, my name is Ness and I like to talk about books. I am so excited, I am so planned, I'm usually never this planned ahead. I feel like a new me. I've planned out my November, December and January reads. I'm feeling really good about it actually, and I really wanted to share my reading plans with you. I am doing a return to monthly vlogs, so October's TBR and wrap up will be in my October reading vlog, and I will have reading vlogs for these months as well. I've broken them down into topics, so there's like 3 themes for 3 months of reading. I'm really excited. This usually motivates me so much when I have like a dedicated reading month topic. Honestly, I don't know why, I just haven't like stuck with that all the time. I'm gonna try and get through them as quick as possible. My dog, Mango, she sleeps for 18 hours a day. She's only awake for like 4 hours a day. We're in her waking period. She's not a happy gal right now. So if you can hear crying in the background, it's my 31 kilogram baby. So in the month of November I want to read 6 books. So this is the stack, and the others don't look this interesting, but based on the theme that I went for, this is what they look like. They're mostly Illumicrate and Fairy Loot books, which makes me really excited. My October books are mainly from the Evernight subscription, but that's not what I intended. I scrapped the bulk of my TBR, and I do explain why in my reading vlog. But my theme for November is cozy fantasy. This is such a big thing right now. I'm a huge fantasy reader, and when I've dipped my toes into books which I assume are cozy fantasy, I've really enjoyed them. They've been short reads, mostly Becky Chambers, who's one of my favourite authors. So I feel like this is a well that if I dip my toes into, I might get slightly addicted. 6 books chosen by my Instagram followers. I put up a story asking everyone what their favourite cozy fantasy reads were, and this is what I got back. Thank you to everyone that contributed to that. I got so many responses, and the most popular book that 9 people responded with was Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry, and I'm not surprised. This book seems to be like the staple in cozy fantasy in the past few years. I've had this for a while as well, and I can't believe how long it's taken me to pick this up. She's done slaying, she's ready to serve coffee. Viv is an orc barbarian, and she hangs up her sword and decides to open a coffee shop. There's like threats from old rivals, but I think the point of this is like less adventure and more, you know, like character driven. So do I read this one first in cozy month, or is this setting the bar too high? Because this was most people's favorites, and I don't want to, you know, read the most coziest like at the start. So yeah, excited to get around to reading this one finally. I think I wanted to read this last winter as well, but just didn't get around to it. The next one is Spells for Forgetting, and this is by Adrian Young. This is a fairly adult one, I think, and it has the most gorgeous end papers. I've really loved this edition, and it's been on a few of my monthly TBRs. I think it was last May, or even the year before. I might have had this on a TBR and I didn't read it. The main character is called Emery, and her life is forever changed when the love of her life, August Salt, right, I love the name August. Like, if I ever have a child, which I will never, I would use the name August. August Salt is such a weird name. Was accused of murdering her best friend. She now lives in a really tight-knit small community steeped in folklore and tradition, ruled by seasons and ancient superstitions. But when August returns after 14 years to bury his mother's ashes, Emery must confront her first love and the reason he left so abruptly. It seems like the truth behind Lily's death will be revealed. Oh my god, I forgot, we usually do star predictions. For this, I think the hype might kill this. I'm expecting to rate this 3 stars. I'm expecting to rate this 3 stars. The next book is The Honey Witch by Sydney J. Shields. This came recently in the Fairy Loot Romantasy? Was it the I don't know if it was the romantasy or the adult. Honestly, they are like blurring for me, and that's not a good thing. I really love this edition. This is a sapphic novel, I believe. Oh, I forgot how good the end papers were. Light magic, sapphic, yeah. It seems, oh my god, there's another character called August. What is it? Why is everyone stealing my name that I'll never use? The main character lives in her grandmother's cottage on a tiny island and is being trained in magic. That sounds cozy. I'm expecting a 4-star read from this. The next one is The Phoenix Keeper. I had a few recommendations for this as well. This is very recent. I only unboxed this like a fortnight ago, but I think this is the August Illumicrate edition. July, sorry. Again, stunning end papers. Some of my favorites. The main character works in a magical zoo and she's the keeper of phoenixes and she's failing in her breeding program. Another sapphic one, I believe. I didn't think this was going to be a cozy read, but you know, this was recommended by 2 people. I'm going to put the Instagram handles of everyone in a pinned comment just to thank everyone for their contribution to making this video. For what this book is seemingly about, I don't know how it's 460 pages. That's the only concern for me. So for that reason, I'm predicting this might drag on for me and might be a 3-star read. Next, wild card, but this was picked by one of my most amazing followers who has been commenting on every one of my videos for years, so I had to put it in. It's from Pearl, and this is The Prison Healer by Lynette Noni. I actually had this so long. This is my second oldest fairy loot book and it's still on my TBR, and that is absolutely appalling. So I think I've had this for about 4 years now. It's been on so many of my monthly TBRs and I've never read it. I think this tried to market itself as dark fantasy, but just like never reached that level, and it's a bit light and fluffy. So when I googled The Prison Healer Cozy Fantasy, this actually was being discussed on the Cozy Fantasy Reddit. So I've added this in here, regardless of whether this was cozy or not, recommended by Pearl, who really enjoyed it, and I wanted to read it so I could talk to her about it on Instagram. And I actually might read this one first because I think this is a very good Halloween to cozy vlog transitional book. And the last book that I want to read in November, I'm just realising this is like 2,000 pages, so I think I'm being a bit optimistic, is another staple in cozy fantasy, Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies. This is the Fairy Loot edition though. I don't know how I feel about reading the Fairy Loot edition. I might go out and buy this in paperback just to try and save this book because it's one of my prized possessions. If there was a few books I could grab if my house was on fire, this would be one of them, and I don't want to risk damaging this when I'm reading it, so I might go out and buy a paperback book of this grumpy romance and fairies and winter cozy vibes. So yeah, another one. How do I feel about this one though? Oh, The Prison Healer. I'm expecting that to be 4 stars. And this one, I'm doing so bad with this, aren't I? This one, I'm expecting this to be a 4-star read. So no 5-star reads that I'm expecting in this month, but you never know. You just never know. I very rarely give out 5-star reads. I've only give 5 stars to maybe about 10% of the books that I actually read, because for me a 5-star is phenomenal, a masterpiece, and it's something that I think about every single day. And there are books that happens for me, and books that I've read 15 years ago that I still think about at least once a week. So a 4-star is probably a lot of people's 5-star reads, and a 5-star for me, I'm just extra picky. Following on from that, December's theme is sequels to 5-star reads where I've been too scared to pick up the next book in the series because I think it might ruin it for me, but I'm very excited to read it, and I think all of these are going to be 5 stars. I have such a bad habit that if I read a book in a series and it's like in my top 5 books that I've ever read, I will put off reading the next one because of the anticipation of reading the next one. If the next one is a letdown, that is like the biggest disappointment in my life. Nothing that will disappoint me more than reading a bad sequel to a 5-star read for me. So these books, I'm nervous just thinking about it. December is probably going to be a month of stress because I don't know how I'm going to cope with reading some of these books. For example, we'll pick up the first one, A Torch Against the Night. This is the second book in An Ember in the Ashes, which I read about 10 years ago. Maybe 11 years ago, and it's one of my top 3 books of all time. And in that whole time I've had the sequel, but I have read that book 5 times, and each time it's been a 5-star read, and I've done it with the intention of reading it and then going straight into book 2, but the nerves were just too much. So I think my new tactic is force myself to read this as part of this project and not read book 1 and just go into this one kind of forgetting how good, or not coming straight off the height of book 1 and lowering my expectations a bit because of that. And Ember in the Ashes is phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. It's kind of the typical military college young adult rebellion story, but it's my favourite that I've read of that trope. So good. I love the characters in it. I love the character arcs. I need to stop thinking about this because then I'm going to get super nervous and I'm probably not going to read this. So yeah, the first book for December is A Touch Against the Night. All of these 5-star expected. A masterpiece. Okay. The second one is The Dragon Republic. I'm nervous about this one for different reasons. The first book, the ending absolutely destroyed me. I remember reading it for the first time and getting chest pains because of the anxiety that it was giving me, because I was so in the story. I was so like captivated by the characters and what they were going through and their pain. And the ending of the first book, I just was... it was a lot. Just remembering it, and this was years ago. The first book, The Poppy War, is also one that I've read 3 times. Every time I've read it, been destroyed. I've had this book now for probably 4 years since it came out. Maybe 3. The Poppy War is easily in my top 5 books of all time. So good. If you haven't read it, what are you doing? If you like epic fantasy, it is brilliant, perfect. It's got warfare in it, politics, a young character trying to find herself and grown, and then this mentor relationship, and it's got magic in it. Oh my god, and it's got like unlikable male characters in it, like that go to school with her who may be the love interest later on. I don't know what's happening, and like this older brother figure. Oh my goodness. I need to put this down. There's a reason actually that my December TBR is a lot lower than my November one, with just like these 3 books and the previous one. It's because I anticipate needing massive breaks in between reading books to spend like 3 or 4 days crying, so I'm factoring that into how much I think I'm going to be able to read. So the next book, this is, honestly, if you ask me which sequel am I dreading the most, I can't pick, because all 4 of them I'm expecting to be annihilated emotionally. This one, just looking at this, just gives me the heebie-jeebies. This is Jade War, book 2 in the Greenbourne saga, the first one being Jade City. That was a book that I picked up. I had such low expectations. I thought that was going to be a 2-star read. Ended up, dare I say, probably my favourite book of all time. Do I say that? Oh, I think I do. It was the perfect fantasy for me. It had all of the elements that I really wanted. I was shocked and speechless by some of the twists and turns in that book. Essentially, Jade City is set on this fantasy island. I think it's supposed to be Taiwan. The mineral jade allows the wielders to have enhanced magical abilities, and there is 2 clans at war over the control of this substance. The main characters of this book are 3 siblings of one of the clans, one of the 2 like at-war clans. They're kind of the more morally correct ones. The other ones operate more on like a criminal basis. And the 3 siblings, they can't decide what approach they want to take with their clan leadership style, and they disagree with each other. One is more political, one is more erratic, and the other is a female who kind of wants to stay out of it all, and she's got a knack for business. But the twists and turns in this book, the characters in this book, it makes me want to actually cry because of like just the overall events. I'm getting overwhelmed. Is this autism? Honestly, I was diagnosed with autism a month ago, and I was like, does that explain why books just can make me cry with overwhelm? Cut, edit, we're back. Okay, so Jade War. I'm expecting huge things. If this is as good as the first one, holy moly. But I could easily be so let down by the sequel of my favourite book, and I know I can, because really this book needs to be better than my favourite book for me to be like wowed by it. So I'm trying to be realistic about it. So much happened in the first book. So much happened. Oh, brilliant, fantastic. It should be made into a movie. Hollywood movie. The biggest budget on the planet. No, you had to stop filming for a little breather. We've got 1 book left in December to talk about. I think the last one was the big one, but Jade War, I'm not expecting like a ton of character deaths. This last book, I'm expecting to lose some characters that I've loved so long. So much of this series has been a 5-star read. Apart from book 1 and 2, the rest of them have been easy 5 stars. It's Kingdom of Ash. Hear me out. This book, This series, it's phenomenal. I have problems with Sarah J Maas. I absolutely do. I'm disappointed in her endlessly, and I think about that all the time, that I want to pick up one of her books, and it's put me off reading books a lot. But that's only part of why I haven't been picking this book up, because the rest of the series has destroyed me. The cliffhanger of the last book, which I read tandem actually, I just know that some of my characters, some of my personal characters, what am I saying, like, these are written by Sarah J Maas and it's available to everyone, but these are my characters. I think I'm going to lose them in this book, and I'm not prepared to read that. This is 800 what? Oh god, it's nearly 1,000 pages. This terrifies me. I think this is the longest book that I have. Actually, it might not be. Aelin Galanthius. What a girl. What a girl. If you own this book and you haven't read it because you're focusing on like Feyre and the bad people, then just stop reading them and pick up this series. If you don't have it, you can buy it second hand in so many second hand shops because it's everywhere. Why are people getting rid of this? I think I know why, but that's given you an opportunity to pick this up ethically and read this. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. Aelin, my top character of all time. Sarah J Maas has nothing on Fonda Lee, but the character of Aelin is my favourite. Absolute favourite. Fonda Lee, Sarah J Maas, R.F. Kuang and Sabaa Tahir, you do things to me. Which I don't like. Phenomenal writing, well done. The skill. Now that December's over, I'm feeling a lot more calm. If this is just a snippet of what I'm going to feel like in December trying to pick these books up and reading these books, I don't think I'm prepared for December at all. So January, yes. I've deliberately picked too many books for January. I know I'm not going to read all of this in January. There is 6 books here and most of them are pretty long, but I've picked them too many up for a reason, because I think some of these I'm going to DNF once I start them. These are the oldest books on my TBR. I am trying so hard to cut down my TBR, and luckily some of these books belong to very long series, so if I don't enjoy them I can just get rid of the whole thing and it's going to create so much room on my shelves. But these are books that I've had, some of these for a decade, longer than some of you will have been reading books, and it's just ridiculous that they've just sat on my shelves for that long unread. So without further ado, let's talk about The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is 1,100 pages. Volume, hang on, wait. Why is a book that long? Why is a book 1,100 pages? I've seen so many of my trusted booktubers read this book and absolutely love it. I don't think I'm going to like it, which is why it's on here with this massive pile of books to be read, because I think I'm going to read 100 pages of this and decide I just want to get rid of all my Brandon Sanderson books. This is epic fantasy. I don't know what this is about. It seems like something I should enjoy, like wars and politics, but I just think that I'm going to find Brandon Sanderson's literature a bit too much. I have tried to read his other series, the Mistborn series, and read half of book 1 and I was bored by the writing. I don't know how, because I usually enjoy writing that's really in-depth in fantasy. Love The Lord of the Rings. That's not a problem for me. But I need to try it to see whether I'm going to like it, because if I get rid of a book that I haven't at least tried, that just seems unacceptable to me. I don't know if it's going to be fair to give that a star expectation, because I think I'm going to DNF. The next one is Everything Leads to You by Nina LaCour. This has been on my TBR for 9 years, so I don't know what this is about anymore. I think this is a young adult contemporary sapphic romance. Expectation is 3 stars. Next is Vengeance Road by Erin Bowman. I actually got this as a birthday present off a dear friend called Katie, who is also an influencer, brilliant social media, does a lot of travel. This has been on my actual Goodreads TBR for 9 years. So this is one that I need to read. This is set in the heart of the Wild West. This is a girl dressing up as a boy to look for answers and justice after the murder of her father. A take no prisoners heroine with a bloody debt to settle. I think this is a young adult. I've had this for far too long. I'm expecting this to be a 4-star read. I absolutely adore the cover, and this is what drew me into this. I actually found out about these books off very OG booktube. I think the reason I haven't read these for so long is because these are American covers, so they take up far less room, and they're very pretty. The spines are very, very cutesy on my shelf, and I'll be sad to get rid of them. The next book is The Guinevere Deception. This is a King Arthur retelling, I think, from like a female perspective. By the time January 2025 rolls around, I think this will have been on my TBR for about 5 to 6 years. So another one to try and read, see if I like it. I'm kind of expecting 3 stars, if not a DNF of this one. Next is another very popular OG booktube recommendation. It's The Warrior Heir by Cinder Williams Chimer. This was published in 2006. Just looking at this cover on my shelves makes me think of like 2000 oh god, what year would it have been? 2013 booktube, lying in bed all day every day watching videos by Jesse and his friends. Oh god, what was the librarian called? Was she a librarian or did she work in a bookshop? Oh, I forgot now. That was where I got the recommendation from for this. It was such a better time. I'm expecting a 3-star. And the last book, which I thought, you know, I have to actually read the oldest book on my TBR. That isn't Stephen King, because the oldest is actually Stephen King, but if we negate the Stephen King, which I don't want to read anymore, this is the one on the longest. I added this to my Goodreads in 2014. And this is a very old book. This is Theft of Swords by Michael J. Sullivan. This is a knackered copy. I actually own the whole 3 books. I think there's the 3 in the series. I don't know if there's more. But I own all 3 and they're taking up a hefty chunk on my shelves. This was recommended to me by someone called Michael, who used to make a book content about a decade ago, and used to comment a lot on my videos, and I was so ever grateful. I miss you, Michael. I hope you're doing well. And he recommended this book to me because I wanted more recommendations for adult high fantasy. This sounds quite similar to the books by Scott Lynch. In this book, the main character is called Royce. He's a talented thief. He has a partner called Hadrian, who is a skilled mercenary. Together they make a profitable living as agents for hire to wealthy nobles until they become the unwilling scapegoats in a plot to murder the king. This has such high ratings on Goodreads. If I can get into this, I think this could be a 4-star read. Again, this is a book that I've had on my TBR a few times, so I just need to get over it. Just need to do it. Got loads of time off in January. I hate that month. It's usually the month I do the most reading, so it's on there. I'm not so excited about January's reading month as I am November and December. I think the vlogs for November and December are going to be absolutely wild, especially for December, and I'm hoping to get lots of cute and cozy footage for November. January, I don't know what to expect. That could be a terrible reading month. What do you think? Do you think I'm gonna have a fun time or not? Like, all in all, that could be a terrible reading month for me, and if I'm just not enjoying them, I'm just going to end it and then pick up the next thing that I think is old on my shelves and try that. So I could end up going through 50 books at this rate. That would be brilliant. So thank you so much for watching. Let me know, what month do you think I should be the most excited for? Let me know if you read any of these books and they're not worth it. Just give me your thoughts on them. I just love to talk about books. If you do not, please go and follow me on Instagram to help me build my future TBRs, and I look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye guys.